In this video, we'll explore publishing and workflows in integrity policy management. I'm logged into Integrity as Jared Pelk McGinnis, a policy author. I need to publish my company's time and expense policy. To do so, I'll click on either Drafts or Documents in the left-hand pane, and click the Upload button on the search bar. First, I'll enter the policy title. Next, I'll select the document. I'll also select the Upload folder. Since this is an HR document, I'll put it in a folder under the HR site. Next, I'm going to add a quiz to this document to ensure that people understand the policy. For the purposes of this demo, I'll add a simple question. And I'll select some answers. I'll set the quiz pass rate at 100%. Next, I'll choose some categories. I'll decorate this with HR and add a quick summary. All policies and procedures in our organization need to go through an approval process, so I'm going to say approval required, yes. As you can see, the form changes to give the approval workflow options. Integrity supports two types of workflow, parallel and series. We'll start with series. In the Assign Approvers box, I can add individual names, Active Directory groups, or I can select from SharePoint groups. I'm going to select the Integrity Site Owners group. As you can see, Integrity expands the group and shows all the members of the group in the approval sequence below. In a series workflow, a task is created for the first person in the approval sequence. If they approve, a task is generated for the next person, and so on until all people have approved the document. You can change the order of the approval sequence by clicking on a person's name and dragging it. In this case, I want Jared Pelk McGinnis to be the first person in the sequence, so I'll click his name and drag it to the top. Next, we'll explore parallel workflows. In a parallel approval workflow, tasks are generated for all of the approvers in the approvers list, and a percentage is set to denote how many approvers need to actually approve the document before it can be published. For example, if I pick 75%, then 3 of my approvers will need to approve this document in order for it to be published. Let's simplify this for the purposes of this demo. We'll change this to 100%, and we'll remove everybody but Jared Pelk McGinnis. You can remove people from the approvers list by clicking the X next to their name. For this quick demo, I'm not going to assign a required acknowledgement audience. Next, under Schedule, I'll pick the task deadline. I can also pick policy effective start and end dates. In many cases, it makes sense to set a policy effective start date sometime in the future, as the approval process generally takes some time. For this demo, I'll leave it as is. I'll also set the policy effective end date. At the bottom of the form, I have the option to publish this document. If I say yes, you can see the button at the right changes to Submit. If I submit this document, because it has an approval workflow, it will not immediately be published, but will start the approval workflow process. Since I have an approval workflow, my document won't immediately show under Documents. It will, however, show in the draft screen. At the top of the list, you can see the time and expense policy that I've recently published. Next to it, you can see a clock icon. This indicates that the document is currently under review. Under review is a status indicating that the document is currently in the approval workflow process. Integrity will generate approval tasks. Once search is crawled, they will show up in our task list above. As an approver of this document, an approval task has been generated for me. I'll navigate to the approval task. Approval tasks are a lot like acknowledgement tasks. They show you all of the properties of the document and allow an approver to review the document and the related metadata to ensure it's accurate. In this case, I'm going to look at the quiz. When I launch this quiz, I notice that somebody has incorrectly selected jewelry as a type of item that can be expensed. It should be airfare. Because this quiz is incorrect, I'm going to reject this document. First, I need to add a rejection reason. Once I've finished entering my reason, I'm going to click Reject. The task now disappears. If I navigate back to the draft section, I'll see my document is now currently in the rejected state, as one of the approvers has rejected this document. Next, I'm going to view the properties of this document. I can view the approval comments and see why this was rejected. In this case, it's because the quiz was incorrect. Next, I'm going to edit properties and change the answers in the quiz. I'm going to switch jewelry to airfare and click Done. This time, I'm going to save as draft in case there's any future work that needs to be done prior to republishing. As you can see, once I've edited the document, the status has changed to now indicate it's a draft again. To publish this document, I can open the Actions panel and go through the Edit Properties wizard, or I can click the Publish button on the right to publish this document. Since I know I've made all of my updates, I'm going to click Publish. Once it's published, again, the status has changed to Under Review, indicating that it's back in the approval workflow process. Once search has crawled, a task will appear in my task list. I open the approval task. When I view the quiz, now it looks as if the quiz is accurate. I can now approve the document. I'll click Approve. Next, I'll navigate to my draft screen. As you can see, the time and expense policy is no longer in my draft screen, as it's been approved and has now been published. Once search crawls, I'll be able to find this document in the Documents list. Once the document has been crawled, I can find it in the Documents section of the application. This concludes our video on publishing and workflow in integrity policy management.